Hello and welcome. It's a beautiful evening in Doha and we are sitting at the famous Godiva Cafe. Well, I saw a movie last night and after I've seen it, I've been only craving chocolates. Well, but it's not just me. There is somebody else who shares the same feelings. It gives me immense pleasure to invite the famous YouTuber from Toys Daily. So welcome to Movie Euphoria. Welcome to our video. Hope you're doing good.
Yes, I'm doing very good.
Now, without wasting any time, we want to just ask you a question straight. Ever since we saw the movie last night, are you craving chocolates as much as I am?
Well, if having 3 waffles every day counts, absolutely.
So guys, we saw Wonka last night and we've only been thinking and craving chocolates. Well, you got it right. The movie we are going to talk about today is Wonka. Wonka is a musical fantasy film directed by Paul King. He has directed some of the other famous movies like Paddington. Wonka is inspired from the 1964 Roald Dahl novel called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Wonka tells us the origin story of how Willy Wonka became famous and became one of the most famous, in fact, chocolatiers in the world. We must also tell you that there are several versions of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that are available. The first one was called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It released in 1971. Then came the 2005 Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, followed by Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in 2017, and the latest addition to this is Wonka. Moving now to Wonka, Wonka can be called as a prelude to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It is a reimagination of how Willy Wonka became so famous from the point of view of the director Paul King. But something we want to clarify here is there were a lot of tweets over Twitter saying that Wonka is a remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The directors later clarified that there's nothing like that. The movie is actually a reimagination of what they thought Willy Wonka would have been before he became so famous. So we cannot call it another version or we cannot call it a remake. It's an absolutely different movie, of course inspired from the original work. So now let's quickly start with what we think about the story. So I would like to ask you, one of the reasons why we invited you is also because if we look at Wonka, it's primarily targeting the young audiences. And while our perspective is important, it's extremely important to know what does the younger lot feel about Wonka. So could you tell us what did you think about the movie? Did you like it? What did you think the story was? How did you think the story was?
So, for the younger audience, aka me, Timothee Chalamet has done an amazing job in his acting. Fun fact for you and you. Timothy, who played Wonka, never had to even give an audition. He was so good at singing and dancing since high school. Lucky man, right? Anyway. So for me, Wonka was quite good, and for me it was a literal comeback for those cinemas like in Disney we used to watch. And it was a great time for watching with your friends and family in winter.
Okay, so another thing I wanted to ask you is, I know you love to read, and you've, I think, read most of the story and novels by Roald Dahl. So from that point of view, and you've also read the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I want to know, how do you think the movie did in terms of the story? So we said earlier in the video that the movie is how the director imagined, what he thinks, Paul King thinks that what would have happened to Wonka that he became so famous, or how did he become so famous? So do you like this version of the story, or you think the story could have been better? What do you have to say on that front?
So, well, the answer to this is, I think that not only this could be the background story, but there could be so many background stories. Though in the 2005 Wonka, where Johnny Depp acted, there were some secrets that I think if you deeply analyzed could be revealed that could reveal quite much of his origin story. I don't think the latest Wonka completely matches all those and ticks all the boxes, though for sure that can be his origin story. Like, he makes friends with the Oompa Loompas, and that's from where Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka also begins telling his story, from what onwards what happened. Though there could be so many other stories. Instead of his mom dying, it could be his dad who started it. So many things.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you, and I think there's a brilliant insight there that yes, there could be so many ways of telling. I personally, however, felt that with Wonka, the director and the story writers had such a huge subject in hand, and also it was a fantasy story. So there are so many more plots that could have been explored. It could have been probably told at a multi-layer. Like, for example, I found it a bit flat in places. If you particularly remember the last scene when they get stuck inside the chocolate fountain and they're about to die, the moment we're getting interested and we're getting excited about what's going to happen, we feel the thrill, but the moment you sort of reach there, it's killed because the problem is solved so simply. So I felt it could have been more engaging in that respect, but yes, that is what I would say.
Something I have to say about this was, yes, there were a ton of mini plots, problems, almost Wonka is about to get over, but solution. And you are right, they are killing the interest, but there was a already built interest in the movie. Mrs. Scrub and everything, all those problems lasted so long. Also, there was a main story which had many mini plots. Like, the main story was 3 famous chocolatiers jealous of Willy Wonka's amazing chocolate, and they have so many plans to burn it down. So the interest is already built. What can I do to burn this down? That's what the chocolatiers think. Wonka is, I'm so worried. So there's already an already built interest, and they're building 2 interests, breaking it, 3 interests, building it. So basically there's always one interest in it.
Okay, so who was your favorite actor or character in the movie?
Well, for this one, I will be really happy to answer Timothee Chalamet in all angles for me, because his acting was exceptional. Wonka, like, I did not know that he was Timothy. I thought he was Wonka. I thought Wonka was Wonka. There was no actor behind him. I thought he was actually there. But of course, after Google research, I realized the reality. Though that's why I'm saying Timothy. His singing, his dancing, everything was amazing, and that's why I say Timothy.
How about Hugh Grant? I particularly liked him a lot. I mean, call me coming from the old school, but I thought he was brilliant too, especially as Oompa Loompa, and the full thing, where we see a mini-sized Hugh Grant was very interesting. Also, what did you think of Mr. Beans?
So, for this one, Hugh Grant, and I don't think they really needed him. I think they could have literally just gotten AI. It was so AI-like. I mean, the hand movement, the face, too smooth, no texture. Just basically it's AI. And Mr. Bean, he has been a kid's attraction for such a long time. Kids love him the way he is. He's so funny. In this, he could have improved his role, increased. He could have got a longer role because he's so famous, kids love him, and this movie was made for kids too. Though the style he was playing a priest, it did not really seem like a priest. Because of the movies and TV shows he's been playing, we just thought that he was Mr. Bean, but he lost his job and he got a different job. So yeah, he could have increased his role.
Yeah, great. Yes, when it comes to Mr. Beans, I do agree with you. I also felt that, he had a very little, more like a special role. And when we saw, the trailers, I probably thought he would have a huge role to play, but, it was unfortunate we couldn't see much of him in the movie. But the good news is that, what I heard in 2025, his largely, appreciated the animated series is returning back. It's with its season 4. So, hopefully we'll get to see him there. Let's move now to, another very important question I want to ask you, the music. So what do you think about the music of Wonka, considering it is a musical? Your opinion on it, and what's your favorite song?
So with the large amount of songs being there, songs at every twist and turn, songs at every new character out, I would definitely say the song was very fantasy-like, and it gave me that feeling, it gave me that vibe, it gave me that everything I needed for songs. And yes, absolutely, it is a musical. Of course, it has a ton of songs. And my favorite song was the Oompa Loompa theme music.
Oompa Loompa, yes, undoubtedly the best song, and I think we should make our viewers listen to it, probably a glimpse, yeah? What do you say? Yeah. Yes, I also believe, because it's a musical, I felt the songs and, the overall production, like I don't want to get into production costs here, but I thought it was not as beautiful as it could be. Probably there were less use of colors. We saw a very pale, plain land. I found it less colorful, but when it comes to the songs, definitely Oompa Loompa. I also liked Scrub and Pure Imagination. I thought they were brilliant too. So this is what we thought of Wonka. And before we leave, I would ask you to tell our viewers in 2 lines, what do you think about the movie overall, and do you recommend it to them, or what's your opinion on it?
Well, for you, they don't lie when they say a world of pure imagination. It is really fantasy-like, and if you ask me, I would suggest you and your little ones to definitely watch this movie. It would be such a great time to call your family and let's watch it all together.
So before we finally say bye, there's one last question that I would like to ask you. And the question is that you've read most of the books of Roald Dahl, as I mentioned earlier. Is there any other book you think has the potential of being converted into a movie? And if yes, then which one would you say?
Well, yes, I have lately read this book, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. I suggest to read it. It's really interesting. It's like a part 2 of Willy Wonka's full historical story. Chocolate being exported to Mars, Willy Wonka getting rich and famous. Definitely, I suggest.
Timmy plays Wonka, Hugh Grant plays Oompa Loompa, Ron Atkinson or our lovable Mr. Beans plays the priest, and young Carla Lane plays Noodle. And then there are, of course, several other actors, all brilliant. So in the end, thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to have your views, and I'm sure our viewers would appreciate views coming from you. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for joining in today. We'll see you soon in the next one.